hey, there's a creature going around. Like even the littlest girl, Sawyer, she has a bunch of like little globe lights, but never turning on a light switch. And throughout the house, nobody turns on a light switch. And even when they figure out that, oh, the creature, it's afraid of light. If you turn on light, it'll go away. They walk past lamps and never turn them on. It's so frustrating. I noticed it early, and all through the movie, I'm just in my head, I'm screaming. I'm like, turn on one goddamn light, just flip some light switches, and we can be done with this. It's like, nah.
Go ahead and get your tickets for Double Toasted Live in Atlanta. You press that banner right there, it'll take you to x1entertainment.com. And over there you can get your tickets for Double Toasted Live in Atlanta for a night of comedy, games, and our after party. That's going to be September 2nd. Let's get into our first review right now, y'all.
I'm your boogeyman. Yeah. That's what I am.
Sing it, boy.
Whatever I can.
Boy, that woman looked like she was lost back there. Looked like she was a last minute hire. You see that woman back there could not get less of about this song right there.
Whatever I can.
That's Corey Coleman and the Sunshine Band. KC and the Sunshine Band. When I'm your boogeyman. There you go. The bell bottom boys back there. Yeah, y'all. That's KC and the Sunshine Band. My neighbor used to call me that all the time when I was a kid.
Oh, I bet.
Because my initials are KC. My neighbor used to, till I was about, 18. KC and the Sunshine Band.
Remember they released their first song, Get Down Tonight?
Yeah.
And then when you saw him, you're like, KC is white? The fuck? What?
And he's like, gotcha. Gotcha, Martin. Yeah. Yeah, that song is Boogeyman right there. And that is, and that's about as much as it has to do with this movie that we're about to talk about. I just remembered the song. I like the song, so I'm just going to play it.
It's stuck in my head all week.
Yeah, I mean, once you hear that and you know the song, it does get stuck in your head. So, the advertiser for this, they say that this is from the mind of Stephen King.
I'm going to scare the hell out of you.
Who are you talking to? Who are you looking at?
He would know.
He's wall-eyed and cross-eyed at the same time.
He's looking at himself. Yeah, okay, man, sure. Yeah, from the mind of Stephen King, which usually means that they took a premise from Stephen King and then made up a bunch of shit so that they can pimp out his name. Which is kind of what they did with this movie that we have right here, which is the Boogeyman. Now, with this right here, this movie is based actually on a 1973 short story that he did. This is based on a story of which occurred to me. This short story that they base this on. It occurred to me that I actually did read this.
I thought I didn't, and I was told somebody today. I was like, yeah, it's probably one of his short stories. I don't think I read it. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, this is actually one of the first short stories I read.
Yeah.
It just deviated so much from the story.
Yeah, no, I read this, and it wasn't until near the end of the film I was like, hey, it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Trying to pull a fast one on me. Why you? Yeah, who do you think you are?
Yeah, you. I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Sure? all both of you. There's only one of us. But, sometimes, what King writes, Stephen King that is, what he writes is so crazy that you have to make changes to make the movie or to make any movie adapted from him comprehensible, less insane. And sometimes those changes work. Sometimes you go in and if it works out, sometimes you'll get a Shawshank Redemption, or you'll get something like The Shining, Misery, where they change a few things around. And then sometimes you'll get.
Now, Job Smith is about to enter the world of virtual reality.
Sometimes you get a lawnmower man, What do we get here? Because sometimes you take a gamble when you make these adaptations. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this trailer for The Boogeyman. and then we'll come back with our review.
It's not real.
Girl just gets a seizure from the floor, swallowing her tongue.
It's okay. I'm serious, Sawyer. I need to be alone.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah.
That's the twist. It's Kool-Aid Man.
Dad, you have to listen to me.
Okay. Sweetheart, let me handle it.
Put down the goddamn phone.
So we're talking about how they adapt Stephen King's stories and change them around for better or for worse. How do we feel here? Well, I don't know. I imagine there's different opinions on how people change Stephen King's work for the movies. I thought that the change was probably needed here if they're going to make a movie. For me, it was like an expansion on the original story, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, because the original short story was just a dude going to the psychiatrist and just freaking out and telling his psychiatrist about how this creature killed his family. And we're sitting up here wondering if the guy's crazy or not. So it's just a dude just telling the story. There's one long piece of exposition, really, until they get to the end, and there's a twist at the end right there. They tweaked the ending, this twist ending that they have in the story, and this is almost like this continues that story. So it's almost like the plot continues the story here. Like I said, with a little bit of tweaks. So you have this time the story centering on the psychiatrist and his family. Dr. Will Harper, played by Chris Messina. Is that how you say it? Messina?
Yeah.
And you center on him after his wife dies and how he's trying to handle the loss while also trying to take care of his two daughters who are, at least one of them is upset about this. So a guy comes to the house, and it happens to be David that Smallchin. And whenever he comes to your house, ain't nothing good gonna happen. This dude, every time this dude's in a movie, ain't nothing good. And nothing good happens when he enters the room.
That's true.
He's either done some shit or he's crazy or.
Well, except in Ant-Man.
Except in that, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
It's one time.
Well, no, because he was friends with T.I. So it still did not work out, man. So yeah, man, this dude comes in and things get really weird because, like in the original story, he's talking about how his family is being stalked and killed by this boogeyman. That's what the kids have called it because this thing is coming out the closet. And I'm not going to tell you what happens here, but something happens with this character that just sets off this chain of events where we're led to believe that whatever that was killing his family, of course, is a horror movie, so it's probably real, but he transfers it to the family. This thing is for just him just going there.
Yeah, just talking about it.
Yeah,
the boogeyman said, "Leave my name out of your mouth."
Now the boogeyman looked at that psychiatrist like, you talk a lot of shit, man. No, I'm gonna stick around and see how you feel about this. I'm gonna, after this, you're gonna be looking like that. So, this thing latches on to the family, and the daughter here, played by Sophie Thatcher, her name is Sadie in the movie, actually becomes the main protagonist as she slowly starts to discover. She wasn't a believer before, but she slowly starts to discover, I feel like, this thing might actually be real and not just the delusions and ramblings of a crazy man from the Dark Knight. Right? So, she says, I got to investigate, save the family before it gets worse. I'm curious to see what you thought about this. I heard what you were saying the other day about something that could be considered a flaw in the movie. But I will say I do like how the writers took the original and turned this into, because if you're going to make this a movie and you're going to expand on it, now, did they succeed at this? We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they tried to make this more than just a creature feature. So they tried to do this thing where they try to bring in the themes of grief and fear and weave that into this story with this creature. Apparently this creature gets off on, stalking its prey and just messing with people to stoke up their fear and their grief. Likes to play with its prey. I will say that, the creature part of this and the theme of grief and the drama, I don't think that they work to meet their full potential, though.
I couldn't agree with that more. It is a very short story, to go back through it. And yeah, it's one with exposition and a hook at the end. It's something you read in a short story collection. You go like, oh, okay, well, that was kind of neat. And then you move on to the next thing. So why they hooked onto this and said, we got to take this and expand it. Like, all right, not really the best choice, I feel, but okay, they decided to do it. With the themes they bring to it, it does feel like it doesn't reach where it could go. Like I don't see what was in the original short story, because so much of that is in the part with David. How you say it? I keep still want to say David Dalmatian.
I did that before. No, he took me word by word on how to say his name, because he said that small chin.
That small chin. Okay.
That small chin.
But he got called Dalmatian.
All the
Dalmatian
time
when he was a kid.
Yeah, shit. That's why he looks like that.
David,
stop calling me Dalmatian.
But I think he's awesome in the movie, and he comes in, and his part is what is the short story, and then they go from there. And it's one where I was like, okay, you've kicked this off, but where it goes is not terribly interesting or original, or as a matter of fact, I feel like the longer it went on, the less so it became.
I think the drama and the theme of grief, it works in some small parts. I like Chris Messina a lot in this. He's not
with any of the actors.
Yeah, he's not over dramatic, and I liked how his characters, because they do show how all these characters process grief on their own terms. He was the one that just didn't want to talk about his wife's death. He just kind of internalized it, because first of all, he can't deal with it really if he starts to put it in words. But then he's also a psychiatrist, so he's like, well, I'm too busy helping everybody else, and I don't know, maybe that's therapeutic for me, and that's enough. It's really, I do like the way this character that they portray him as somebody who's internalizing his grief, because he has to be there for everybody else. So he tells himself. So I thought that was a good angle right there. Sadie, on the other hand, the daughter, I'm sorry, y'all. I just didn't like her very much. She's a bitch. I'm sorry.
You're just mad the whole time.
You know what I found to be a problem with her?
What?
Is her age. In that she seems to be a high school senior. And the way her and her friends act, they act more like seniors from middle school.
Well, yeah, that's...
And yeah, her, whenever we see this with the angry young woman or man who's just that all the time, you start to get worn out. Well, you're like, all right, enough.
That's already. The thing with this. She's a teenager. So what do? This is not, today at least, I don't consider it great writing when you have a teenager and your thing is, well, teenagers are angry. No matter what happens, hey, they lose a family member, or, their life is not going the way they wanted. Well, they just mad at the world. Just mad at everybody, even to friends that try to help her. She's just a bitch to everybody. And the way they try to create conflict with this too, it made no sense to me. I found it very false, because one of her friends is just a goddamn psycho. I can understand I liking that girl, but both of them are kind of weird, because things escalate real quick with them. Like, she goes and looks at this one girl. She's like, would you just please leave me alone? And the girl's like, say to me? Yeah. Pushes her to the locker. I'm like, whoa. And the other girl's just kind of like, yeah, well, that's just what they do. So
tell me this is a Stephen King movie without telling me it's a Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
A supernatural entity helps out of nowhere, and there's bullies for no reason.
Well, at least, because if this had been a Stephen King movie, she would have pulled out a switchblade. Yeah, right. And she would have carved her name into a skull or something.
Well, it's girls, so they have to soften it some.
She just, and the girl keeps coming around too.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, this girl's a bitch. She's gonna mess with you. Why you keep trying to be friends with her? It's like she's like the Nelson of the group or something, man.
Right.
She girl. Everywhere they go, the girls just like, bitch, don't you know I'm local? It's like, yeah, man. I was like, I will tell you who I liked for probably all the wrong reasons. I like Sawyer, the little sister.
Yeah, no, she was cool.
Vivian Lyra Blair. I like her for the wrong reasons, because she didn't give a shit about mom being dead.
She didn't.
She didn't give a I don't think she cared about her mom. She didn't. They convinced me that she did not like her mom, because while dad and big sis were depressed, she was happy as. She was laughing. She was eating snacks all day. She was playing video games.
Yep.
Didn't hear her talk about mom one time. She moved on quick.
The only thing she cared about was the boogeyman, which nobody else cared about.
Yeah. She don't care about the boogeyman, and at that time, nobody would believe her. That's probably why she didn't say, y'all talking about this, the mom's dead. We got this in our room right now. And there were times where she wasn't even mad about the boogeyman. Or she wasn't scared about the boogeyman.
Right.
She was mad. Cause she came out and told her sister, she's like, you know that bitch messed up my goddamn room. She's kicking her sister with these little stubby legs. I told you it was real, now you went out there on my PlayStation.
Threw me into a wall.
God damn it. Mom is dead. Y'all get on this shit right here. The boogeyman is very much alive right now. And is messing up my shit. You remember she came and kicked her sister with those little legs? Cause she said, what she say, like, did you go in my room? Little midget legs. Ow. It was you or the boogeyman, I'm telling you, both of you. Stay out of my shit. As far as the creature goes, I also feel that Sadie's, the story about her grief could have been interwoven into the creature story a little bit more. Because, she's investigating this creature and trying to figure out what's happening. And I think it might not have fit too well with her grief, her theme of grief, because I think the creature story is not fully fleshed out.
Right.
I think that the story with this creature here, I think a big problem is that I think they have a backstory for the creature. I think they have some things that they've tried to figure out about the creature, but it was mainly written for jump scares. Which to me is a kind of a problem here because it doesn't feel fully thought out. They don't. I think there's some logistical things that aren't thought out. Well, why it's affected by light. I don't. He's out there, I guess, to eat people. And they show this at the beginning of the movie. It's very effective, but he should take his time with them. He could have ate them halfway through the movie. He had plenty of time.
It's just like all these house demons and ghosts that just bullshit around until the end of the movie.
He's bullshit.
Because he's like, are you gonna do something or not?
Just around, just having, just pretty much just being a dick. Just going around, just jumping at people, playing with his food.
Now, with the original story, it was he fed on fear, which he was a precursor to Pennywise.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
But here they don't really define any of that.
That's what I'm saying. They say it, but they don't. And they say more than they actually show with the creature. And also, Martin was saying this, everything is almost like they set the mood for the creature because they keep them lights low.
Yeah, that was something I noticed even before it became a thing, that they live in this big house that's full of dark wood and they never turn on lights and they never open the blinds. And the few windows you see are stained glass windows. So there's so little light coming in. And when it's determined, like even before that, you're like, hey, there's a creature going around. Like even the littlest girl, Sawyer, she has a bunch of like little globe lights, but never turning on a light switch. And throughout the house, nobody turns on a light switch. And even when they figure out that, oh, the creature, it's afraid of light. If you turn on light, it'll go away. They walk past lamps and never turn them on. It's so frustrating. I noticed it early and all through the movie. I'm just in my head, I'm screaming. I'm like, turn on one goddamn light, just flip some light switches and we can be done with this. It's like, nah.
Yeah. It's like, there's a scene where she's using a video game to like make light brighter. It's like, just get the turn on the light.
Yeah, open the blinds.
Yeah. And it was dark. It was nighttime.
No, but there's times in the daytime when they aren't doing it.
But I will say, listen, because I had some of the same complaints with Evil Dead Rise, where everybody kept their lights low, just to create atmosphere. I can say for now, I did like this more than you did, because I do, as far as a creepy creature movie. Okay, I think it works there. I think that some of the things not being explained about this creature is good because you need to keep some mystery to it. They mention certain things about, they hint at certain things, but they don't try to explain everything. So I like that. And with horror, there needs to be a lot more left in the imagination. There's a really creepy the way it talks. And they say maybe it's because of this, but they don't really explain it. But it is right at the beginning of the movie. They set up a very, very eerie mood with the way this creature speaks. Kind of speaks in using familiar voices and echoes and stuff from past victims. I think that there are some areas with lighting here if you want to think about it again realistically or logistically. But I do think there are moments where they play with the lighting very well. I think that they play with the tight spaces where, and at moments you think that you know that the creature's there, but they do it so much that they trick you sometimes. Like you start getting paranoid. You're like, I think I see something in the corner. And they kind of train you to think that way in the movie because of the way they play with tight spaces and darkness. So I think I do think there are genuine scares here. You know, and I think the way they set up the creature is pretty ruthless. I ain't gonna tell you how, but I was like, God damn, you're just an asshole, man. You're just a bully. I mean, the way that creature starts out, and I'm gonna tell you, if you like kids, I always, you know, my mantra has often been kids, but this was wrong with this movie. It was like, man, they start out with, I was like, damn, if you're a new parent, you might want to sit this one out, at least skip the first part of this movie because it's pretty heartless. Near the end of it, you know, you can definitely feel the influence of A Quiet Place. Because the writers from A Quiet Place did this, and a lot of elements of A Quiet Place can be found here. Again, the way they play with the environments and whatnot, but also I almost think to a fault, the creature is borrowed heavily from some of the things we saw from A Quiet Place. Some of those creatures, you know, when they start showing them near the end, and we know what they look like now. And I thought maybe they showed too much of the creature. And, you know, some of the solutions they get through here, I was like, that seemed pretty easy, the way you took this thing out. But hey, you know, although it doesn't make sense, I think that there are some good things in here to like if you are just going to see a fun monster flick. I don't know how I feel about this. This is some petty shit right here. I'll let you know right now. This is very petty.
Okay.
I don't know if I like it or not, what they did. You know, I'm one of those hipsters where I got a band that I like. You know, I got a band that I discovered, you know, and I pride myself on being able to go around and tell people about this band. I'm happy this band broke out because you heard me talk about them, but in the background they're playing, you heard me talk about this band, Man I Trust. They were playing one of the songs in the background.
Tell me how you love.
That's my band. You know, it's like,
my God.
It's like, how dare you go mainstream?
Oh no.
Actually, I'm very happy that the band has hit mainstream, man. They have been like a cult band, or you know, they've been under the radar for a while. Now they're hitting it big, so cool for them. You know, this movie, they're featured in the film in a certain part. So I was like, that's cool for you, man. But yeah, you know, I'll let you wrap things up, Martin.
Well, I don't know. I think about the boogeyman. I think about my niece when she was young would come over and spend the night with our kids, and sometimes she'd be like, "Oh, I'm scared." I'm like, "What are you scared about?" I'm scared there's a monster in the closet. And I was like, "Sweetheart, think about it. If there was a monster in the closet, would we still live here?" And that was enough to make her go like, "Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense." It's not. And while it has not much to do with this, it is that thing of like, yeah, there's so many things that it's not confronting or answering. I thought it started out well. I didn't really have a sense of the creature, what it was about, how it worked. It just seemed to be one of those things where it pops out when we need it. It'll do things when we need it to do it. That's all you need to know. When it's over, I'm like, yeah, I don't know the kind of lore. I don't really know what's going on other than you want to put a movie together that you could slap Stephen King's name on. I mean, I feel like a fair assessment would be a low rental. But for me personally, it felt like a waste of time. And for me, it was some old bullshit.
Yeah, so I'm a great departure from that. I definitely see the flaws. And hey, man, I agree with you 100% because when we're talking about they don't have a good sense of what this creature is, you know, I think they could definitely have done more with that.
Especially with the boogeyman. That's legendary. There's so much you could do with it.
Yeah, again, I think they were going for something of a more
Introspective.
Themes. Well, the themes of it, but also, because I'm trying to say this without spoiling anything, because I think they're going for a more alien type feeling here than supernatural, with what they're trying to explain here. So,
okay, interesting.
Yeah, they hint that there's certain things where this is more than just a supernatural
I see
thing.
what you're saying. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, man, for the things that did work on a basic creature feature level, I do think it works that way. Lacking for it, wanting for the parts that it lacks, I would feel a slight bit of disappointment, but not enough to be feeling like it was a waste of my time. So I give this a low matinee, very low matinee, but low matinee nonetheless.
And I will also admit that part of my judging it the way I do is that there was a time when I was like, well, this is what horror movies do. But last year with so many great horror movies, and I've seen what they can do. Then I come to this, I was like, yeah, I'm not willing to accept this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I've seen worse horror movies though.
Oh,
you know,
no, absolutely.
I do think that there was an attempt here to do more. You know, with the family, I think that it didn't meet its potential, but with the family, I thought that they did more with it than you see in the average horror film. This could have been a movie where it was nothing but jump scares, and I thought they attempted to do more. And in some small parts it worked, some parts it didn't. But again, you know, you got two different perspectives here. Do what you will. Boo ha ha ha. So I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no vampire or mad scientist.
Boo ha ha. It's a horror movie. That's my laugh for it. So there you go.